Pursued the minimum wage jobs that I'd had all through high school. And that was, for me, that was me in the late 70s. The last straight job I had was 1981. Head manager of a Haagen-Dazs in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. on Wisconsin Avenue at the intersection of Wisconsin and O Street, making $3.75 an hour, $4 an hour, something like that. Working 40 to 60 hours a week. I had a small apartment which I shared with an old pal of mine. I had a small record collection, an ailing VW automobile, and a little tiny life with my minimum wage job, which I liked. And I looked at my life and realized this is probably about as good as it's going to get for me. I might quit this place and go work at my friend's record store because I liked being around records, and I could probably run his store very well, knowing what I knew about retail at that point. And then I got a very lucky break, because at that same time I was very frustrated. I said, well, this is going to be a very tough life. It's going to be a life of a lot of standing on my feet, a lot of work, taking it from other people, and having very little to show for it by Friday, Friday evening. And then Black Flag, the famous band, who was friends of mine, they played in New York. I was in Washington. I took a ride up to go see them because they weren't coming down to my town. I jumped on stage and sang with them that night, a song, because I had to go back down to DC and go work like some awful shift. They called me a few days later at the ice cream store and said, we're looking for a singer because the rhythm guitar player wants to, the vocalist wants to move down to rhythm guitar. You can tell I've told the story before. And we're holding auditions. Do you want to crack at this? Because we saw you on stage the other night. You're pretty wild. I looked at the ice cream scoop in my hand, my chocolate bespattered apron, and my future in the world of minimum wage work. Or I could go up to New York and audition for this crazy band who was my favorite. What's the worst that's going to happen to me? I miss a day of work. Ooh, there goes 21 bucks. And I get humiliated in front of my favorite band. Yeah, humiliation and young people kind of go together. I was used to it. And so I took a train up there. I walked into this practice place in the East Village. I'm standing there with the band with a microphone in my hand. They said, pick the tune. And I sang every song they had, improvising most of it. 2 times through, we did the set. They said, okay, you have a seat. We're going to go have a band meeting, whatever that means. And they came back like 10 minutes later and said, okay, you're in. I said, what do you mean? They said, you're the singer in Black Flag. I said, so what do I do? They go, you quit your job, you pack your gear, you meet us on the road. Here's the tour itinerary, here's the lyrics. We'll see you soon. So, fairly numb, I went back down to Washington with this passel of lyrics in my hand. Went to my boss and said, I'm not exactly quitting, but here's this thing that happened. And he said, it's your shot. I said, yeah. He said, take it. And that was late July 1981, about 30 some years ago. And that's what happened to me. I won the lottery. And I was in this band, Black Flag, for years, made a lot of records, played a lot of shows, learned a lot, started writing, started a publishing company in that time. And in the 80s, Hollywood directors started coming to me like, you're crazy, can you act? I'm like, yeah, I'm starving, can you pay? I mean, I'm looking for work. And never forgetting what I have to go back to. $8, Haagen-Dazs. So I said yes to every acting job, yes to every audition, worked on my little publishing company, started doing poetry readings and speaking dates. In the 90s, want to do a voiceover? Yeah. And so I said yes to everything, worked like a crazy man, realizing guys like me fail most of the time. So I was around a lot of great bands, and rarely did they get over the wall. People much more talented than I'll ever be. I don't have talent, I have tenacity. I have discipline, I have focus, and I know without any illusion where I come from and what I can go back to.